Are we live, please? Is that...
Hello, yes, we're now live.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, good evening, everyone. My name's Councillor Pounds and I'm the chair of this committee. I'd like to welcome you to the East Area Committee for the 13th of October 2022. Apologies that it was delayed, but I'm sure you'll understand that we cancelled all meetings for 1 week because of the death of the Queen. I've had apologies from Councillor Herbert. Councillors present at this meeting will include Councillors Bagent, Bennett, Copley, Davey, Healy, Howard, Moore, Pounds, Robertson, Smith and Thornborough, and county councillors Boulat, Shayler, Howitt, Goodliffe and Beckett. Can any members advise if we've missed out their name? I think that's everybody. Thank you. We have officers present as well. We have the Chief Executive, Assistant Chief Executive Andrew Lim, the Committee Manager who is Chris Connor, and we have our producer Boris Herzog. If anybody can't hear me, please let me know via the chat. So I've got the chat in front of me and I'll be able to hopefully pick it up. So this meeting is being broadcast live via the Council's website, and public speakers are reminded that by speaking or appearing in this meeting, you are giving consent to being recorded. The meeting is automatically recorded and will be available via the Council's YouTube pages after the meeting. So the process for each agenda item will be that the relevant officer will give us a brief introduction. And then councillors and members of the public participating in the meeting will be invited to speak in the chat function if they would like to ask a question or make a statement. The committee manager will check the Democratic Services email inbox and see if we get any public questions along the way. For the comfort of councillors and officers and the public, I may call a short break if it seems to be turning into a long meeting. If you require a break at any point, councillors, please just let me know, and I'll sort one out at the next convenient opportunity. So I think that's all our housekeeping. So now we're moving on to agenda item 2. Can I hear any declarations of interest, please, councillors? And could you also identify which item your interest relates to?
Okay. Cambridge cycling campaign, which more or less covers everything we ever do.
Thank you. Everybody, that's everybody, is it? Yes, thank you very much. So agenda item 3 are the minutes from the meeting on the 23rd of June, which were attached to the agenda. Does anybody have any concerns about those minutes or like to raise anything to do with the minutes? No, we're all happy. That's lovely. Right, agenda item 4. Could we note the actions detailed in the committee action sheet, and Councillor Thornborough is kindly going to provide an update on the station cycle park work, please.
Yeah, so I understand that there has been an uplift in Cambridge Police success in catching culprits around the station in the cycle point. The CCTV system has now been upgraded and can now be viewed by the railway network. It was previously a standalone system, and there is an ability to share the screens with the police. There are frequent Brookgate and station staff patrols, which provide a better sense of safety and security to users. And I understand that incidences of rough sleeping or begging have been reduced to a very low level. And there are sort of anecdotal reports that thefts have been reduced. But clearly we need to rely on the official crime reporting figures from Cambridge Police, which I haven't got for this update. Greater Anglia have been provided with £60,000 from the GCP and 10,000 from us, Cambridge City Council, to begin an initial phase of design development work to arrange options for onward detailed design of the cycle point, subject to the agreement of the stakeholders, and critically a set of project costs that will enable them to draw down the principal funding from Sustrans. They have begun the tender process to appoint a contractor and expect this to conclude by the end of November, with a site visit with the designer to be held in December. Normally they expect an 8-week turnaround for that kind of work, but it's dependent on the input they receive from the stakeholders involved, which, as you can guess, will require a high level of interaction, because they want to, well, we all want to ensure that local specific requirements are observed. The stakeholders include city and county council, CAMCycle, the police, ARU, Cambridge University, Cambridge Biomedical Campus, and maybe a few more, but that's my report. Thank you. You're on mute, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Thornborough. Councillor Healy has asked to speak.
Thanks, Katie, for the update, the progress report. That's great. I mean, I've been using the cycle park quite a bit commuting to London, and I can definitely see there's a lot more security around. You can definitely see. The one thing I would say though is, if you get there in the morning, like after about 8 o'clock, there's literally like no spaces at all, and like there's signs up all around saying you're not allowed to put your bike around the edge, but there's nowhere to put it because there's no spaces. And I've seen them kind of removing bikes that have put them around the sides. So I would just ask, can we get some more spaces, because they're always kind of gone like after about 8 in the morning. So like I would really plead that we could get more cycle spaces there.
Thank you. Did you want to respond, Councillor Thornborough?
Yes. So, Councillor Healy, is it? I'll go along at 8 o'clock in the morning to check, but I know the ground and first floor are very frequently full, and I wasn't aware that the second, and I think there may be a third floor, are full as well. But I can go and check, and I can find out whether the designers are going to look at trying to fit more cycles in. I know that they are definitely going to be looking for more space for cargo bikes and longer bikes, and different kind of bikes. There's going to be a patrolled space for those bikes coming forward.
Thank you very much, Councillor Thornborough. Councillor Robertson.
Thank you. Could we also check whether they are doing a regular clearance of abandoned bikes? That is often a problem, that it gets clogged up. Thank you.
Councillor Robertson, I think that was a major problem before, and my understanding is that the abandoned bikes have been cleared, and the security checks are a couple of times a day, and they're very much more aware of any damage to the frames where the bikes are locked, and the number of abandoned bikes as well. But I'll check that when I pop over. Thanks.
Councillor Beckett.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Councillor Thornborough. It's really good to hear progress moving forwards on this one. I know it's such a concern for our residents to lose their bikes there. Do you know what's being done about the actual kind of hoops and implements themselves to stop them from being unscrewed? I know one of the big concerns with the previous one was that essentially if you had the right Allen key, you could unbolt anything and then just simply lift a bike out. And there's been a lot of calls to be able to, weld those down or prevent that. Do you know if there's any work being done on that to prevent them from just simply being unscrewed?
Yes, that's definitely part of the programme as well. I think there was problems with the Sheffield bikes being wrenched up, and I know that there was certain bits of the equipment was loosened so that you actually, it looked like it was secure, but it wasn't. So that was, I think they're going over the equipment, and we're looking at I think they're looking at putting in different hoops for cargo bikes and things, so that ordinary bikes can't be locked in the cargo bike area. But that is definitely the equipment, and the security of that is part of the programme.
Thanks.
Is that a legacy hand, Councillor Robertson? Oh, thank you. Is there anybody else, any more questions on this one? One of the things that actually is a problem as well, Councillor Thornberry, is that outside Sainsbury's and those shops, there are some racks for shoppers, but they're always full up with people who just leave the bikes there all day, or commuters, I suspect, probably because they can't get into the stuff, or don't want to go into the cycle park. And it would be good if they were monitoring that a bit more, because it is irritating if you just want to drop off into Sainsbury's or somewhere and you can't get your bike parked.
Can I give an update on that?
Yeah, please, Richard.
Those bike racks are there to serve the shops, but it's completely hopeless. They will never be used by the shops, able to be used by the shops when users park on them. I have been trying to get them removed completely because they just clog up the pavement, and it's people put their bikes in right across the pavement. But it requires a planning application to do that, to remove them. And then there will be good full consultation about whether it is appropriate. But frankly, I can't see any point in leaving them there because they are always used by commuters and never available for the shops.
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Also, the multi-story cycle point is the responsibility of Greater Anglia, and the bike racks in front of the shops are part of I think they're part of the Brookgate estate. So they're actually different people responsible for them. But the Councillor Robertson is correct about obstructions caused in some of the major circulation areas.
Thank you for that. Now, I think did I see Councillor Copley with your hand up? Can I just say that it'd be really helpful if you want to speak, if you just pop it in the chat, because my screen's not big enough to have everybody and the chat to see you all at the same time. Is there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Hello, you're very quiet.
Oh, sorry. I'll
thank you,
speak
that's
up
better.
quite a bit. Yeah, no, I just wanted to comment that those bikes outside Sainsbury's and similar, I mean, they are often quite full, but I regularly have used them to do shopping on home, and there may be a number of spaces taken up with bikes, but I don't think it's true to say that they are unusable and unbeneficial to shop. And this isn't something, I mean, I personally wouldn't stop there if they weren't there to do shopping there. I'd find somewhere else, because it's not worth going into the multi-story car park just to do a bit of shopping. So in terms of the whole station area, there is a lot of area there. Some of it is used for bike parking, as mentioned. There are notices everywhere saying you can't even temporarily lock your bike to a tree or something like that. So yeah, I really would counsel against removing those bike racks outside shops, because even if many of them are packaged, they are very useful.
Can I just comment on that? I think you've got a good point that really they should be available to the shoppers. So maybe the solution would be to ask the people who run this square to change to put some signs on them saying they're only available for short-term parking, and that anything left more than an hour will be removed. Maybe something like that would be the answer.
There are some signs to that effect. I'm not sure how big or obvious they are, but I don't think they have a time scale on them, but say like 1 or 1.5 hours would be plenty of time for small shops.
Sure.
Yeah, being specific may sway to the or enough to make them usable.
Thank you. Yes, I would agree. I would agree with that, because they're very useful if you just want to pop in the shops. And I think the actual shops themselves would be upset if they were removed, because that's obviously their passing trade. But they are not monitored. There are bikes there, been left there obviously for weeks, and they're not used. So I think that's the key, is that they need to be monitored and the time limit made clear. Thank you very much. I think Piero, would you like to welcome? Would you like to speak on this matter?
Yes, I got a message for Councillor Richards. I don't know if the owner from the restaurant on Mill Road called to Casa, he's got some problem with some bicycle rack just on facing his restaurant. He said he would like to, in the summer, he would like to put tables and chairs outside, but those bicycle rack, they are blocking all the paving. Is there any way they can be relocated?
Thank you. I think probably, is that something you could take offline or at another time, because we've got a great long agenda. If that's okay.
That's the first I've heard of it, so yes, it's
yeah, because this was just specifically about the station.
Okay.
Piero, thank you very much. All right, I'd quite like to move on now to agenda item 5, and to welcome Claire Flowers, who's head of housing development, the Housing Development Agency, and Claire is going to give us an update on the activities that the Housing Department have been doing.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for inviting me along tonight. I'm specifically going to be talking to you about some of our engagement and consultation work that we've been doing in the east of the city in your wards. So updating you on what we've done, and also some things that we've got planned as well. So as some of you probably know, the council's got a large house building programme underway currently. We've got a significant number of homes that have now been completed and on site, and some of them are in your wards, and some of the ones we've been consulting on in your wards. So I'm just going to tell you a bit more about that. So I've got some slides for you that I'll run through. So if you just give me one moment, I'll just share my screen. Okay, so in terms of our approach to resident engagement on our new developments, you know, that we haven't got a one-size-fits-all approach. We're working on lots of different sites in different communities in different situations. Some sites that we're working on actually are people's homes currently, and we're looking at feasibility around redevelopment. Some sites are you know, backland sites that back onto other people's homes. Some are small, some are big, and obviously there's different stages to a development project, from identifying something as a possible opportunity all the way through planning process, through construction, and then hand over to the new residents. So there's different things that we do at different stages and on different sites, but we do try and take very open approach and want to engage with residents in what we're doing, and we also try and work closely with ward councillors on what we're doing as well. So the first projects I'm going to tell you about are some of the ones that we've got on site. Hopefully you've seen them as you go around the city. Those that are in the ward will know a lot about these ones. So we've got two schemes.
Are we meant to be able to see the slides? Sorry,
yes, can you not see them?
No,
we can't.
Oh, so sorry. I'm glad you said that. I could have been doing all sorts of weird things as well with my hands, thinking that no one could see me really as well, because all you could see is the screen. Right. Is that now sharing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. There wasn't anything very interesting on the first slide, so that's all right. But now you've got a picture, so it's good that you can see that one. Yes, so Mill Road has been on site since 2018. So there's been lots of construction activity there, and it's been a tricky site because there's only one entrance in and out of the site. So that's been something to manage, as well as you can see from the image, the existing properties that are all around it. But as you can see from the image, it's coming to its finale, with the scheme due to finish this calendar year, and also a new community centre. So what we've been doing over...
can I just quickly interrupt you? I had requested if we could see it full screen, because it is quite small. Is that possible?
It's showing as full, I think.
We've got your smart slides as well.
Just 1 minute. I will try and share the different. I think it's sharing a different screen, because I've got 2 screens. Is that better?
That's perfect, Claire.
And on the slide now is the... Can you see
one size fits, one
is
size
that,
does not
yeah,
fit all.
that's the trouble. It doesn't seem to be moving on. I'm sorry, I've not really had this problem with it before, because it's not moving the slide. Oh, resume slideshow. There we go. There we go. That's better, isn't it?
Yeah.
So sorry, everybody, but you can see the scheme there at the Mill Road and the constraints in terms of the residents around it. So what we've done recently is we've had information events. They were at one time in person. They have struggled to find a suitable venue for them, but now we're going to have a community centre built at Mill Road. That will be the venue for them. So they have been online, and there's been advertising locally. There's a community development officer that's employed for the project. And so her role is for getting new residents to get to know existing residents and really make this feel kind of part of a community. We also have information boards around the construction works, and the site managers go to the community update events, as well as ward councillors. So we've had to evolve the communication, obviously, with COVID when we were building and not being able to have public meetings, so all of them are online. But we have, and we've done different things as the schemes progressed, really. And then we've got another site in the Romsey ward on the other side of the railway line at Cromwell Road. And because these sites are relatively close and they've got kind of similar issues in that the build out's been at a similar stage, this one started slightly later in 2019. We've combined some of those events and meetings about the issues. But again, we've had information for local residents from the site team, updating them on issues in terms of construction. This site will benefit from the new community centre also at Mill Road, and through the middle there where you can see all the storage of things, that's going to be a new park and cycleway. So this scheme's got 295 new homes on it, and you can see there them all being built. So over the summer, as I said, we've been quite busy out doing consultation with residents. So we've been in Coleridge Ward at St Thomas's and Fanshawe Road flats, and out in Abbey, East Farmwell and Eakin Road. So all of these at slightly different stages and slightly different projects. So a couple of those projects have been talking to residents on existing estates, where we're looking at what we might do with some of the older blocks, how we might be able to redevelop them, finding out what residents might think about that, and looking at the options for the estates, for keeping them as they are, and improvements. What we've done, and this kind of came about partly because of COVID, is we've plonked ourselves out on an outside space in a marquee. And so this has meant that people perhaps that don't want to come into an indoor space because COVID feel safe to come along, but it's also been very visible. So perhaps people that might not have had the leaflet or whatever through the door, they might not, remember it on, but the fact that there's something going on outside, just immediately where they live, has actually meant that more people have come down and found out, well, what are you doing? What are you talking about? And because we've had staff there, the staff on site on the estate, we've gone door knocking, said, we're here, do you want to come and talk to us? So we found that to be really effective. And often with these things, it's not just about what we've gone to talk about. People use it as a chance to talk to the council as a whole. So we bring people from different parts of the council along so they can help answer residents' questions. As you can see on this slide here, we have different information boards. We always try and have questionnaires for people to answer. And we also offer webinars as well. So we've done a webinar generally after one of these. And where we did these over the summer, we often did 2 dates because obviously we appreciated people were away. And we set up web pages where people could look back at the information and things that we were displaying. We always listen to people as well about how we've done it and try and think for the next time, is there anything that we do differently, in particular when we go back to the same community. So this is one of the estates that we did some consultation on at Fanshawe Road, which has been approved at Housing Scrutiny Committee. You can see the flatted blocks there. So the consultation here was very much aimed at the people that lived there. The next stage, now that that has been approved, would be for us to do consultation with the wider population that live nearby in terms of what we might be thinking about in terms of the proposals. And it's not just that one event. Just to give you some examples of speaking to the team today about what they've actually done at Fanshawe Road, is that after that event, all residents were offered a one-to-one meeting by letter, and they were held at Lichfield Hall over 3 days, where residents could find more about everything. And then we have a decant officer who works with the residents to find out what their circumstances are and see what alternative housing options might be available for them. The site's relatively close to the Cromwell Road development, so we've had 3 visits down to Cromwell Road and Mill Road, so people can go and look at that new housing, and some of them have taken us up on that, with 2 households moving into those Cromwell and 2 to Mill. So I think what's kind of good is looking quite carefully at the circumstances of the site, of its location, what might be attractive to people. We don't necessarily know before we go, but we have a good think about it. And then by having this kind of offer and being able to go and look at Cromwell Road, residents that, whilst it's disruptive for them to move, can actually see that they can move into, a really nice brand new home. The other place we've been very busy over the summers, lots of you will know, is out in Abbey. So this is the work we're doing out in Barnwell. There's lots to this project. You can see by the different colours of different bits of land here. And we did the consultation here over a really wide area in terms of trying to capture a wide community. So this is a different type of project to Fanshawe. We held 2 events over the summer. In the area that's marked blue in here, we put one of our marquees up and had one Saturday and one afternoon event, as well as a webinar. So we had 122 people in person and 43 webinar attendees to that. And so what we had a similar theme to what I described before, with boards and questionnaires. And then, we've been able to analyse what people think, what they want, and look for key themes. And that really helps us develop the proposals further. Sometimes they're things that we're already aware of, like, it's important to make sure that there's enough parking for the different uses. But other ideas come up from people that we haven't thought of, and that's really helpful, and issues so we can then go back to the community again. So this just gives you an idea of what it looked like, and I know some of you were able to come along to that event. And the other thing we did with that, we didn't just do those events, there were other things already going on that the council was involved with. So this is something that was at Peveril Rec in the summer that the CHIPS team were doing. So we popped along, so trying to engage with people that perhaps might ordinarily not think to come out to these things, but actually once you start talking to them, they're really interested and they've got good ideas. The other consultation that we've done is back in Coleridge, and this is on a small infill backland site here, and we've been looking at how we might redevelop that, how we might also improve and provide new open spaces on some other kind of backland garage sites. So again, over the summer we did consultation. This time we did use a hall, which was a 7-minute walk from the site, and we distributed to a really wide area, and also made sure that the local residents association were engaged with that. So this one is not affecting people's homes, but it's affecting garages, spaces that they use. So really interested to hear from them, and it kind of shows the range of different sites that we're looking at in terms of trying to deliver more council homes to the best of our ability. We've got some more things coming up. So as I said, we're hoping to have another session for Mill Road at the new community centre, and that's going to be, you know, about the existing community and the new community kind of gelling together with the community development team. Also in the Petersfield ward, lots of you will have seen that due to the storm damage, the East Road garage block has been demolished. And so we're looking at what we might do with that, and we're going to do some engagement with the local public about that over hopefully before Christmas. We've got further engagement at East Barnwell, following up on what we've already done, and more detailed work ahead of hopefully a planning application. The same as I mentioned at Fanshawe Road, in terms of talking to the wider community about what we might be redeveloping on that site and getting their feedback on that. And at the Eakin Road estate, we're looking at setting up a resident steering group and looking at how we work with that community. So hopefully that's been a helpful summary of what we've been up to and what we've got planned. It's a really important part of the housing programme in terms of getting the engagement right, listening to people, trying to get the support. We're doing sites in locations that are always near to existing communities in one way or another. And I think these have really shown really good opportunities for the council in terms of getting out into the communities and joining up our teams. So it's been good for staff and good for residents in doing that. So I hope that's been helpful for you. I'm sorry about my poor IT skills at the beginning, but I'm happy to have any questions from the committee chair.
Thank you ever so much, Claire. That was really, really interesting, and it's really good to see the amount of engagement, public engagement you're doing. I would also like to say thank you for that, the housing day where we came over to Meadows and then had a tour, and the depth of information you gave to councillors, and also all the members of teams who were there. It was a really, really useful day. Can I remind everybody, it'd be really helpful if you could if you want to speak, to put it in the chat, because I'm not necessarily going to see everybody's hand and certainly not see them in order. But if you could just put "speak please" in the chat, that would be great. So can Councillor Copley, if you'd like to go first.
Can I check you can hear me this time?
It's a little quiet.
Sorry, yeah, sorry. I'll speak as loudly as I can. Yeah, I just wanted say I think Claire, you and your team did a very great job of consultation and engagement with respect to the East Barnwell Community Centre and site development, which involved a huge desktop to the entirety of Barnwell, and really kind of positive reception from everything that I've discussed with people about it. So yeah, just want to say thanks for the engagement and work on that project, and understand that Eakin Road project, there are some residents who are very keen on the ideas put forward, and there are others who are very strongly against the loss of their home. But as we all know, that project's being deferred, so it's ongoing discussions.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, so first of all, I'd really like to echo the praise for the way in which you're seeking to engage, and I've been along to quite a few of these events, both in my own ward and across the city, and there's a really strong sense of trying to be where residents are, ensuring that there's lots of space for questions and getting in there quite early in the process, which is really helpful. And I have to say it was particularly nice on the one or two where there's been a coffee machine, the eco coffee cyclist coming along as well. That was particularly welcome. What I did want to ask is, I know this is primarily about the kind of engagement side of it, but I'm aware that some of the work you're looking at doing in my ward of Coleridge involves really trying to ramp up the eco home aspect of the work, and I wondered if you could tell us a little bit more about what your environmental plans are for some of these houses, because I know you're really looking at making them as close to carbon neutral as we can.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Yes, so the scheme at the St Thomas's site that we're looking at in your ward, we're looking at delivering that at net zero carbon if we can. So that would probably be some houses, and so we'll be looking at the learning from the other projects that we've been doing and building on that. I mean, I think you know, as a council, in terms of the schemes that we're building now, we've got a scheme at Colville Road handing over very soon. That's a gas-free scheme, and that's at the Future Home Standard, kind of, you know, years ahead of when that's required. I'm really interested to see what the bills and things are like for those residents there. We've got extra thick walls, we've got extra insulation, so it's this fabric approach. We've got triple glazed windows, and we've got communal air source heat pumps, as well as a really clever system for distributing the hot water. So I think we're doing some really good stuff, and I think we're able to, because we've got a good sizable programme, and because of the partnership also and the way we're working, we're able to learn from each project. So I think it's really positive, and all of the others will build on that. We've also got passive house pilot schemes just started on site in East Chesterton, and one in Abbey also at Ditton Field. So that's really good.
That's great. And I forgot to just pass on, I understand from that the KIP has won another award at the Evening Standard Awards. Is it highly commended for the Ironworks development? So congratulations to that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smith. And next we've got Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Dinah, and apologies for lateness. And also, before I say anything, I need to probably declare an interest, which I missed at the start because of my lateness, because I am a KIP board member. So if Claire could adapt and amend the minutes, that'd be fantastic. I'd like to start two comments and one question, Claire. I'd like to start by picking up on what Anna just said. There's an old phrase about a prophet is not without honour unless they're in their own land, and it is bizarre that this programme that KIP undertake receives award after award after award nationally, and yet I'm not altogether sure that people within either the East area or the city as a whole are aware of just how successful this programme and project has been, and it's something we need to celebrate. And I've got to be honest, in the short period of time compared to others that I've been a city councillor, this is the project that I'm most proud of and most proud to be associated with. And I just think it's really important that we recognise that. That's not to say it doesn't have issues, and doesn't mean to say we shouldn't be actually addressing those issues. I'm just saying we don't realise how lucky we are, I think, sometimes, and this is one of those examples. The second comment I'd like to make is with regard to Hannah's already raised about East Barnwell. I suppose because I've been involved in one capacity or another for the last 10 years in the East Barnwell project, the fact that KIP have now got hold of it means that something might actually happen at last. And I think this is also to be celebrated. And I think it's really important, therefore, that the consultation events that Hannah's referred to already were excellent, and that the negotiations we then have with those who are concerned need to be taken forward effectively. But again, I'm biased, but I think it's important that the KIP are recognised for the fact they do this really well. So those are my two comments. My question, Claire, and you won't be surprised, this is with my ward hat on. Is there anything you can say a little bit more about the East Road garages? The timescales involved and what we're likely to be looking at, just in the general sense. Is it likely to follow the sort of routine that we did at East Barnwell recently? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Yeah, I would anticipate something very similar in terms of finding a suitable location for us to have an outdoor event, and making sure that, you know, we get the distribution right to the right residents in terms of letting them know about that. we are hoping that we can redevelop that site to put some flats on there, but we're also looking at how we might do some other improvements as well to the estate as part of that. So we hope to do that this side of Christmas as well. So we'll obviously keep you and the other Petersfield ward councillors up to date with dates of when that might be, and share with you things as they get pulled together.
Thank you very much, Claire. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire. Our next question comes from County Councillor Alex Boulat.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to echo as well, first, the thanks for the East Barnwell project. I have been attending a couple of the one online and one offline consultation. I thought it's really excellent to mix some of those consultations events with the other events where we speak about other city and county council services. It's really great to have those ideas when I have community days, so people can find out more, and you reached out many people who would otherwise not be the people who are completing the online survey. So I think that was really great. I also wanted to praise the team for the collaboration with the county council as well. I think it's being really excellent in the last year how the county council and the city council have worked together more effectively, and I think that is also contributing to residents hopefully having more confidence that the project can be finally delivered. On the issue of consultation, I wanted to ask, because you mentioned in your presentation there will be some further consultation on East Barnwell ahead of the planning, and more for the benefit of any members of the public potentially watching this, including Abbey residents. I wanted to ask if you can tell a bit more about, is there any time frame for that already? I'm just aware there's been so much consultation on this project and there may be some consultation fatigue. So when I come back to the residents and I say there will be some further consultation, it would be useful for me to understand as well what from the residents' perspective, what the plan is on that as well. And one other related question I had, which I have been in some conversations with on the county council side of the project, is around involving, or trying to involve back a wider stakeholder group. There has been an East Barnwell stakeholder group for a long time, over the 10 years or plus that Councillor Davey has already mentioned. But now I think one of the comments from the county council is how to make sure that the stakeholder group going forward is even more representative of the local communities and local businesses in the area and other stakeholders. So if it's more like a comment, if there are any plans around that, it would be really great to involve back some of the stakeholder groups and widen that scope in the future as well. But well done for the project, and thank you for all your support on this.
Thank you, Councillor. I think the next stage of consultation would be going into things in a lot more detail. For example, the plans that we had shown at the consultation you attended were kind of, blob zones of what we might be doing, giving some indication around the buildings. But as we now have got the both councils agreement to proceed with the project, we'll now be working up more detailed plans, having further discussions with the planning authority through pre-applications, and then we'll want to share that with the community as well before we make a submission to get their feedback on that. So I think there's various different things that might change, but we would hope to do that before February. And you're right, there's lots of different stakeholders there, and there's lots of different parts of this project, aren't there, with the Bowls Club and the community centre, library, etc. My colleague Alison Conder's picking up a lot of that, and she's been liaising and looking to work with Abbey people about all the potential user groups of the community and the recreation offer, so we can properly understand all of their needs as part of the project. And I think we need to look at, we've got a kind of a project board with the city and city and county council officers, and just looking at some of the governance arrangements for the project and trying to look sure how all this feeds in. And I think there's a meeting specifically with the Abbey councillors and Mike Davey also invited on Monday to talk about some of these things. So we'd be happy to hear ideas that you've got as well as part of that.
Thank you very much for that response, Claire. And our last question comes from Councillor Bennett, please.
Thank you, Chair. And I don't really want to repeat all the praise that we've been giving Claire for East Barnwell, but I can't resist doing so. So great job, Claire. And thanks also for keeping us councillors so regularly updated. It's been wonderful not to have to chase up every update. But I did want to mention one little bit of engagement you did, which some of my colleagues may not know about, which is that we had a special visit to some of the wheelchair adapted properties that Claire organised, where myself, Jerry Bird, and some of the tenant reps and some of my spare mobility equipment went round and had a really good look and a really useful discussion with Hills and officers about what's good and what's not so good. And I think we all understand each other's positions a lot better from that. And I'm looking forward to seeing the video that Boris took.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bennett. Did you want to respond any more, Claire?
No, I don't think I needed to respond on that, Chair. Thank you.
I think we've got one more question from County Councillor Shayler.
Sorry, I just popped on the end there. There's a on the original drawings on the site, Cromwell Road site. There is a passageway that runs between the side of the Cromwell Road shops and Clara Rackham, and there was some question about when that would be opened. Piero, who has a great little video, but I don't think he's uploaded it here, shows the situation. So it was built to have that little piece open, but we need to engage with Hills while they're on site, because they can obviously do the building while they're there. We actually spoke to the local residents on both sides, and there's a lot of agreement to have that piece open. So if there's any kind of an update, I know Mike Davies is also planning to deal with this as well. But
thanks very much, Councillor Shayler. Claire, would you like to answer that one?
Yeah, that isn't something that's come to my attention previously, but I'm happy to look into it, Councillor, and see what I can find out.
Thank you very much.
Great, yeah, thanks very much.
Shall I come back to you directly? Are you the best person to?
Absolutely, you can come back to me and I will share with Mike and the various other people so that everybody knows what's going on. I think our chair also has an interest in this.
Okay, thank you.
And Councillor Davey would like to speak.
Yeah, it's very brief, picking up Neil's point. Claire, just for your information, I think I contacted Mark Wilson in relation to this, just picking up and chasing. And I think, and I say, if you could copy both myself and Neil in, that'd be really helpful. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Claire.
Thanks very much. But just before, I think that's everything from councillors, but can I just check with the committee manager, please? Did anything come in from the public on the email with regard to Claire's presentation?
Nothing in regards to this topic.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, thank you very, very much, Claire. That was really informative and helpful, and much appreciated. So now we're going to move on to item agenda 6, which is the open forum. So we have 2 questions and from the public. The first one is from Piero. So welcome, Piero, to the meeting. I think you're here on behalf of the Mill Road Traders Association. So if you'd like to put forward your question, please.
Yes, the question is, well, regarding the project, the Cambridge Gateway from India. It's taking too long, and obviously with the situation we are living, also the project is becoming more expensive. I mean, from my last estimate, from 6 months ago to now, the cost went up nearly about £8,000. So I thought the last meeting, I was kind of promised to help to raise some more money from maybe from public art or somewhere. I think you mentioned about there was some grant over £15,000 somewhere, but we haven't seen any sign of it.
Thank you very much, Piero. Does there, Councillor Davey, do you have any update on that? I have some information, but not a huge amount.
Well, I have got a bit, but it's Piero's had information on the environmental improvement grants from me, and we've met on a number of occasions. And Piero's sent me over the budget, but that obviously has to be part of the process that goes towards the EIA. So I think unless Piero's concerned that you're not getting information, it would be helpful for us to take this offline. But I was aware. I mean, you have received, I think, all the information that's required. I think, unless I'm missing something, Piero.
So I can only add to that with regard to the public art grants. They're not running at the moment. They've had a new policy through. So the last time was August 2021. There's not been any announcement as yet, and I have been following it up. They've introduced a new policy, and I think it's still being formulated. So I think as soon as I hear any more on that, Piero, I'll obviously let you know straight away as to what's going on. I did notice that Councillor Healy has put speak, but I'm not sure if it's to this item or the last item.
I was just going to raise issues for the public forum, but not really that. Is that okay if I speak?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, there's two separate issues I wanted to raise. The first one was so I was in a cost of living meeting today with statutory partners and with voluntary sector partners right across the city. And one of the things that came up in the meeting was the fact that the Chief Inspector of Police had a meeting with our community safety team, and there's been a huge steep increase in retail theft right across the city in relation to food. Which I just think is really, it's just a real sad indication of the state we're living in right now. So I thought that the police sergeant, because he usually comes along to these meetings, so the police sergeant for East Area, I thought he was coming along, but I think it would be really good for us maybe to invite him to the next meeting, because I'm really kind of concerned about the fact that that there are these people that are in situations where they feel they need to take food in shops. So I think it would be great to work with the police and make sure that they're signposting these individuals, to the food banks and the food hubs and the other services that can be supporting them. So that's something I'll be following up myself, and I'll also be following up with our executive, Councillor Alice Gilderdale, and our community safety team, because I think it's really important. Because apparently this has been a huge increase, it's kind of popped up now with the cost of living crisis, and it's something I think we should be looking at in our own local areas and our own local shops as well, and making sure that the signposting is happening. The second issue I wanted to raise, because I can see that we have
Councillor Healy, we haven't quite finished with Piero's question, and we're on the public ones at the moment. Can I come back to you on that one, so that we don't lose track of what we're covering? Yeah. So we're on item 6 at the moment. Is that okay? Thank you. So is Councillor Smith, do you have any other anything else to say to Piero regarding the public art situation at the moment?
I camera on because I realised it had got switched off, so there's nothing else I can particularly add. I didn't put the camera on to come in, but I will keep obviously talking with Councillor Davey and the others involved to see what support we're able to offer. It sounds like you're in good hands, Piero, in terms of the work that Councillor Davey's doing with you.
Thank you. Did you want to respond at all, Piero?
Thank you.
we haven't forgotten you, and it is being looked at, but it is.
Can I say something, if you don't mind? Basically, I've been approached by CamCycle, Roxanne, and she actually managed to locate 5 different grants, which is can be raised. We can raise a good amount of money. but I need some help because I'm after the first experience when I applied, you know, I'm very terrified to apply. If there's anybody can help me out on this, I would appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes, so I think whatever we can do, we will do. And there have been quite a few changes this year in the grants and things. So I think that it's working through, and we have actually obviously prioritised the cost of living and those grants just at the moment, and the winter warming. But
absolutely,
rest assured we will look at it for you. The next question we've received is from Mr. Carpen. Oh, sorry, Councillor Bennett wanted to speak.
It was just a very quick thing on Piero's point, which is CCVS offers grant workshops, which are excellent. And I would add to Roxanne's list, National Lotteries Communities Under 10,000 grant is definitely one of the low-hanging fruit. But I would definitely go and Google CCVS and go to their sessions.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Helpful. Thank you. So the next, did you want to speak before we finish the public questions, Councillor Healy? Because we have one more to do.
Yeah, I was still speaking because this is the public forum part, obviously, for councillors and public questions. So the second issue I wanted to raise was around, because I can see that we have obviously the Chair of Highways, you know, in this forum as well. One of the things that we've been hearing in Romsey from our residents is just a concern about what's happening in terms of the public consultation on Mill Road Bridge. You know, this is obviously an issue that affects kind of all of our wards in East Area, but particularly in Romsey, there's been some concern that it seems to have gone a bit stale and there's not much happening. So we'd be really keen to understand from Councillor Bennett what's actually going on, what's the timescales, when's it going to be coming out for public consultation again. It's just would be really helpful. Our residents are really asking us and we're not hearing anything. Thank you.
It's Councillor Beckett, if you'd like to respond.
I was going to say it's Beckett, not Bennett, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I can fill you in on that one. I understand there's a lot of interest around what's going on with Mill Road. Obviously, the most important thing is that we do follow due process, because what we don't want to do is have a situation where something changes again or we're subject to a judicial review or anything else like that. So where we're at the moment with it is that we are formulating exemption lists for the modal filter and making sure that all of those are correct and in order. From that point onwards, it will be going to a advertised TRO, so traffic regulation order. That will be happening probably November, December time. And following that, there's a statutory 28-day period where people can object to the TRO. Given the history of Mill Road, I'm expecting we might get 1 or 2 objections, at which point it then comes back to the Highways and Transport Committee early next year for a final decision. Does that answer your questions?
Thank you for that. Councillor Healy, did you want to come back at all?
I just wondered if we have any sort of specific dates that we can sort of share, you know, in terms of the TRO, when it will actually be coming out, and has there been dates set for it?
Has been, sorry, what was the last part of that again?
Has there been dates set for when it's published?
No, there hasn't been dates set officially for it. I would imagine it will probably be mid-November, December, but I wouldn't want to commit firmly to it. All of this comes down to making sure it's legally okay, and there's a lot of things that we have to go through there. So I wouldn't want to commit to it, but it will be kind of November, December time is when the TRO will be advertised and the objection period will open.
Thanks very much for that. I have a question from Councillor Howitt.
Sorry, I'm just unmuting myself. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, good evening, everyone, and thanks for all the inputs. Just as we've got Alex Bennett on, a big concern of me is that the improvements to the realm, as they're calling it, i.e. the deliveries and the greening, the pavements and so on, I think it's extremely important that when the Highways Committee takes its final decision, that those proposals are well advanced too, so that they're not the public doesn't hear about that at different times, and I think that will bring much more public confidence in the final decision. And so could Councillor Beckett, I'm sure he's very aware of that, but can he just comment on that in this meeting, just to reassure all of us?
Yeah, I can come back in on that one. So obviously, those public realm improvements are incredibly important, and there's so much that can be done with Mill Road. We are parallel to the TRO section, looking at those public realm improvements. Obviously, as you're aware, though, Councillor Howitt, the budget is the difficult bit for that, and seeking funding for that. That would be coming via a different funding stream, possibly by the Combined Up Authority or some other body like that. So we are slightly dependent on those bodies for those public realm improvements.
Thank you for that response. Councillor Howard, did you want to say any more on that, or you're happy?
Only just to emphasise this point, that I think it's really important that announcements are made at the same time, rather than the realm aspects being delayed. I don't think anyone wants any of it delayed, but I do think that they should be pushed at the same time.
Thank you very much for that point. Councillor Thornborough.
Can I make 2 points? One was following up on Councillor Healy's point about food poverty. I know when we have been door knocking in the East Road estate, there's people are asking about food banks or food hubs and where they are. So I think we are going to get the information from the City Council and Cambridge Sustainable Foods to let them know. But I think depending on how things go, I know that there isn't a food hub or food bank near that area, so we may be looking to possibly put in a community fridge or maybe do something more, but we'll be working with the food poverty team at the executive on food poverty. The second point is really is picking up on the Mill Road Bridge aspect. I know that with the considerations about bringing in the transformational bus, and then later on charging, there's been a lot of discussion about exemptions. Will the exemptions that are being considered for that later project be aligned with the Mill Road Bridge exemptions, or are they going to be treated separately? Thank you.
Do you want me to come in on that one?
Yes, please. Although the that bus, the second bus thing, is GCP, isn't it, rather than county council? However, do have a go, please, Alex. Yes.
so Councillor Thornborough, that was one of my concerns this week. Is making sure that while those exemptions may not be exactly the same, because there will be different requirements for each one, where possible I want them to align. It would obviously not make sense to have similar but subtly different exemptions. So yes, very much we have meetings with the GCP at the moment going on to try and make sure that where possible those do align, and we don't end up with any kind of really awkward edge cases where something is different within city access to what it is on Mill Road. So yes, we are definitely trying to make those as aligned as they possibly can be.
Thank you very much. That's great. I think that's all the questions on that topic. Shall we go to our other public question, and then we can come back again should there be more councillor questions? So we have one from Mr. Carpen, who's asking for an update on the long delay proposals to upgrade Cherry Hinton. Now, I'm not sure if he's present tonight, or if he was committee chair, committee manager. Do you know if he is present and would like to speak to us?
He is not present, but he has advised me he is watching the live stream for the answer.
Okay, thank you very much. So In the discussion just before we went live, we did say that a lot of the councillors here are new and predate this one. However, I think Councillor Beckett has said that he's quite happy to also address this one. You're working very hard tonight. Sorry about that.
I'm sure county councillors are meant to work.
It was a county councillor matter. Yeah.
Yes, so it actually does predate me as well, but I am able to shed a little bit more light on it for people. So obviously Cherry Hinton Road did go out to consultation, as Mr. Carpin points out. They are currently working on detailed design for that project, the cycle routes down there. Obviously it's an area where there's also a lot of other work going on with the GCP as well, and actually they were listed as one of the GCP Cycling Plus schemes, but they were not successful in being selected as one of the latest GCP Cycling Plus schemes. Where that leaves Cherry Hinton Road at the moment is that we will be able to get the detailed design done, but it is currently lacking funding to be able to take it forwards. But as is often the way with county things, once you've got the detailed design phase done, it does allow us to look for funding opportunities either from the combined authority or from various other government bodies. So it's at the detailed design phase, and hopefully when funding becomes available, we'll be brought forwards.
Well, thank you very much. It's good to know that it's actually not just disappeared into the ether. Councillor Moore would like to speak.
Thank you. Just to say, this has been going on for, well, since I think it's 2016. The decision was made to spend the money looking at the issues that there are on Cherry Hinton Road. It's a road that a lot of school children use. It's very busy with cars coming in from outside Cambridge. And it was decided, the county held off on the consultation in order for, they were doing another consultation in Queen Edith, and they wanted to do the two together. And then unfortunately, over £300,000 of the money for this was spent when they overspent on the Dutch roundabout. So this has gone out to consultation with residents, and we get a lot of questions asking when is it, you know, we were expecting this to be completed years ago. So I have spoken to Councillor Beckett about this and really hope that the county council can find the money and push forward on this, because it's really vital to improve cycling and the space for pedestrians all along Cherry Hinton Road between what's now Co-op but was Budgeons, and in fact we extended it to just by the doctor's surgery all the way up to Cambridge Leisure. Thank you.
Councillor Beckett, do you have anything to add?
I just wanted to come back on
thank
that.
you.
So yes, Councillor Moore, you are right. It was Section 106 money that was spent between Cherry Hinton Road. It was just destined for Cherry Hinton Road, the Fendon Road roundabout, and for the Robin Hood junction there. The Robin Hood junction and Fendon Road were obviously complete, but unfortunately, as is often the way with these things, it didn't quite leave enough for the actual physical works on Cherry Hinton Road. So it left enough for the detailed design at the end of it, but not enough for the physical works. Now, yes, I totally agree with you. This needs to be done. Cherry Hinton Road is in dire need of a serious redesign and serious improvements. It's a complete urban wasteland at the moment, and I'm very passionate about making sure that it gets the improvement that it really needs, particularly when we've got Mill Road coming forwards. Cherry Hinton Road is obviously the parallel road to that, which also takes a similar brunt of traffic. So it's vital that it gets the love, as it were, at the same time. Now, I think we do have some members of the GCP here as well. So if anybody is able to use their influence at the GCP to get any of the funding for that one as well, this was considered as part of their Cycling Plus scheme as well, but sadly it didn't get the funding at that point. So yes, we need funding for it. It's vitally important that we do, but hopefully we can all use our relevant strings to try and get funding for this one.
And Councillor Smith.
Yeah, I'm not sure the vibrant businesses that are based up and down Cherry Hinton Road would quite recognise the designation of it as an urban wasteland. So just to correct the record on that, but
Yeah,
just
I'm sorry, I
wanted to
don't
really-
mean it as an urban wasteland in that sense. It's a vibrant business, but it is very much concrete jungle. And I think there is so much that we could do to improve it and make it so much better for those businesses and so much better for our residents that live down there.
So I really want to just come in on exactly what Councillor Moore was saying. I mean, this is probably the #1 issue when you talk to residents in that part of the ward. It's really important. It's very difficult cycling down there. It puts a lot of people off. We're trying at the moment to obviously reduce car use, to ensure that people can walk and cycle safely. It's a scheme that was consulted in good faith, that people were really hoping was coming, are very disappointed it's not. So we really do need to try to do everything we can to find the money for that, to prioritise that. So any help that our county council colleagues can do to make that happen would be really fantastic, because it's something that people in Cherry Hinton Road and the surrounding streets really need.
Can I just add to that? Because I think often it looks like it's the county council that funds these things. Actually, most of the county council projects get funded through the combined authority. So it's actually the mayor that we go to the majority of the time for funding these things via transforming cities or other things. And the county council is usually, unfortunately, just a delivery partner for these things and doesn't actually hold the purse strings for most of them. So that's one of the unfortunate places we're in with highways, is that a lot of our funding actually doesn't come directly via us.
If I might just come back on that, yes, I mean, appreciating always, that every authority is kind of short of the funds, but this was, I don't feel, Councillor Beckett, you should end up having to defend the decision that your Tory predecessors made on this. The money was overspent on another project. There's the funding gap there. It would be very helpful if we could all do, if the Highways Authority could do what they can to see what we can do there, because this is something, people have been incredibly patient, but this has been going on for a long time. So if there's anything that yourselves are able to do as members of the Highways Committee to see what you can find, I think that will be maybe the next bit of S106 that might come up. I think that would be incredibly helpful, because people feel particularly frustrated that there was an overspent on another project and they didn't get this thing they really wanted. And it does make a huge difference to people's daily lives, to our commutes, to the environment. So, and I suspect that Councillor Herbert, were he here, would be the third voice making just the same call, because it is something that makes a huge difference to people. So thanks for that.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Councillor Beckett, for your responses.
I should probably just add in, we do have Councillor Shtaylor here, who's the Vice Chair, so we're quite lucky in this sense that we do have two of the top members of the Highways and Transport Committee arguing for this. So
that's great. That's really good news. Yeah, thank you. Did you want to speak, Neil? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. Yes, I could add that we are looking at these things with the combined authority. And yes, as a city council, as a county council, now we have a lot of fingers in a lot of pies. And so to just reiterate that, if we can get funding, let's do it. And now we have some big projects from the Department for Transport also coming in, but we never have the money where we want it.
Story of local government. Thank you very much. Now, do we have any other? I think that's all the public questions that I'm aware of. So do we have any other issues that councillors wish to raise on
Councillor
this?
Pounds?
Yes.
Hi, this is Chris, committee manager.
Hello.
There is one other question that has come in.
Oh, thank you very much. Could you read it out to us?
Certainly. All right. This question comes from Mr. Mark Risen. It states, many roads in the east area are getting traffic management improvements. Mill Road, Vinery Road, Newmarket Road, etc. When is Coldham's Lane in Romsey going to get traffic management improvements? We need a 20 miles per hour limit and some zebra crossings to start with, but we're also told to just wait for some vague future improvements that never come. Many thanks, Mark Risen.
Thank you very much, Mark, for your question. So I can add one thing on that, which is that we will be applying for the zebra crossings as soon as the new LHIs are coming out, which is very shortly. I've been discussing this with Councillor Shtaylor. Who would like to respond to the rest of this. Would you like to, Councillor Shayler, please? Give Councillor Beckett a rest. Yeah.
Well, I think I should, because it's although it's my division, and actually Councillor Beckett lives on Coldham's Lane, so we're all very intertwined on this one. And yes, we've done a lot of work on reforming the LHI system, and so if Mark could rest assured, we are definitely looking at these problems. Coldham's Lane, it just seems to funnel in every bad driver in the city lately. We've had so many crashes, and you know, and I know that Councillor Beckett's come out in front of his house and seen people with bones sticking out their legs, and so we are signed up to Vision Zero. And one of the other things that we have hopefully made more streamlined is getting 20-mile-an-hour zones, and so Coldham's Lane is well up on that list as well.
That's good to hear. Does anybody else want to add anything to that, or Councillor Beckett? I think it's you know, as with all of these, we're all working, and it's a complex thing, but I'm hoping that we are making good progress. Councillor Copley.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to President Rosen's question. I agree that Coldham's Lane is just a really dangerous road to be cycling on. Cycling paths are particularly narrow. It's got a huge quantity of car traffic travelling through it. So yeah, thanks for Councillor Beckett. But yeah, let's improve Coldham's Lane. It's really I actually never cycle along there anymore. I always take it as a route because of the images, and it's perfectly dangerous, but lots of people don't have that choice if they live there.
Thank you for that. Is there any more on this topic? I know Councillor Healer wants to speak, but I'm not sure if it's on this topic or a new topic. I hope that's answered your question, Mark, but do email in if you want to ask us any more. Councillor Healy, can I ask you your question?
Yes, it's a new one. It's just a comment. So we have a number of grants available at the moment. So just a kind of a plea to kind of other councillors and members of the public watching to please, do think about applying for them. So some of the grants are we have micro grants to address the cost of living crisis. There's up to £1,000 that local groups of people can apply for. To tackle the cost of living. So it could be things like organising a community meal or warm spaces or things like that. So we've lots of money to give away. We haven't had too many applications. So I'd really kind of urge people to put the applications in if they've any initiatives they want to kind of think about. We also have the EIP grants coming up as well. So that's for kind of improvements to the local area. I think the deadline's in the next week or two. One of the other councillors might know the exact date. But yeah, please do think about putting applications in for those. We're going to be trying out a new Citizens Lab way of kind of choosing the projects where locals will kind of vote for which ones they want in their local areas. So I think it's a really good opportunity for all of us in our local wards to kind of get locals involved and see what kind of things we can kind of put in place. It could be things like benches or plant boxes, or there's all sorts of things that can kind of come under this funding. So yeah, just a kind of plea to apply for those 2 grants. Thanks
very much for reminding us about those. Yeah, I think that's all the questions we have on the open forum. Thank you ever so much for your contribution. If anybody's listening and they think of more things they would like to ask, just email into councillors and we will respond. Would anybody like a short break? Or thank you, Andrew. That's very helpful. The link there for the Community Grants Fund is in the chat. Would anybody like a break now, or are we happy to move on to the last item?
We're nearly finished. We are nearly
finished.
Yeah,
we only have one more item, but I just wanted to check. I'm happy to carry on if you all are. Great. So we're moving on to item 7, which is the environmental report. So can I welcome, please, Wendy Johnson, Community Engagement Enforcement Manager, to present the report. Thank you very much, Wendy. Hello.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll keep the report brief. Obviously, you've all had sight of the report for the period of March to August, covering the East area. So I just want to draw your attention to a few of the points in the report, and then I'm happy to take any questions that members may have. So we've done work throughout all 4 wards. Some of the particular hotspots we're targeting at the moment is in regards to fly tipping, which we recognise has increased in some wards, as the figures show. In particular, in Abbey, we're finding the fly tips continue to be quite high around the Dennis Road, Anns Road, Rachel Close and Helen Close areas. So officers are targeting those on a weekly basis to try and identify those that are responsible and take appropriate measures. In Coleridge, we are finding Davy Road is a hotspot for fly tipping as well, particularly the garage areas. We've had quite a lot of waste deposited from people not only in the area, but from people coming from outside the area to leave the waste as well. Officers have a few cases that are ongoing with those. In Petersfield, the hotspot areas have particularly been around Devonshire Road, Gwyder Street, Stafford Street, and Tennyson Road areas. Those continue to be targeted by officers on a weekly basis. And then within Romsey, our hotspots have been Memorial Road, Coldham's Lane, St Phillips Road, and that end of Mill Road in the last 6-month period. We have reprofiled our enforcement team, so officers are now placed within areas where hot fly tipping is more of a problem. So, for example, within the Mill Road area, we have 4 officers covering that. Mill Road is split straight down the middle for the officers to cover. We have 2 officers dedicated to Abbey as well. And then we have some more officers in the city centre as well to try and tackle the fly tipping figures. And I think you will see from page 34 of the report that the figures for both Petersfield and Romsey compared to the previous year have nearly doubled in some cases. So that is why fly tipping is something what we are focusing on in the coming months to try and tackle this and find out why this is happening and take action against those responsible. We've also had a number of clean-up days as well in the wards, and in fact we have our last one for this year at Ancaster Way this coming weekend, which is for all residents within that area. So that's a really brief summary of some of the work that we've done and what we're trying to focus on with the problems that have been identified within the wards. But I'm more than happy to take any questions, Chair.
Thank you very much, Wendy. It's a real it is a real problem, isn't it? The fly tipping. It's a real blight. Can I have any questions, councillors? We have Councillor Robertson.
I won't raise a question. I'll just say it's a thank you to Wendy and her team for all the work they do. Frankly, I mean, the amount of fly tipping is just appalling, and keeping it under control is vital, as you know, to stop it attracting further incidences. So thanks very much for your help.
Thank you. Yes, and Councillor Bennett.
I was just going to say that Matthew and I went to the last community clean-up event at Ditton Fields, and it's a really big event. We had no idea. Over 30 volunteers. But the scale of the waste was horrifying. I have just never seen so much rubbish. So thank you very much, Wendy, for everything you do. And hopefully that sort of stops the fly tipping in Abbey getting even worse. So thank you.
Yes. And can I just ask, Wendy, do you have an understanding of why there is an increase? What is the cause? Because there definitely is a big increase now.
I mean, we've not identified any distinct sort of patterns. I think there was a lot of comments post-COVID and during the pandemic that obviously because the recycling centres were closed and inaccessible at some of the times, that explains why there was fly tipping around that period that increased. But the recycling centres are all freely accessible. Everything is kind of back to, in terms of accessing waste disposal, is back to sort of pre-COVID accessibility. So we're not quite sure exactly why this might be happening, but we are finding a lot of it is ignorance in people not necessarily understanding what their responsibilities are. So a lot of what we're trying to do is education through speaking to people. I think people maybe are not understanding that it's their rubbish, it's their responsibility. Just leaving it outside and expecting it to be collected is not acceptable. So I think maybe the ignorance might be something, or just not understanding what council facilities are there for them to use and how to access that. So potentially some of that, really.
So it's perhaps something that we councillors can do, perhaps when we're door knocking and things, is to try and raise awareness. That's a possibility, isn't it? But yes, thank you for all you do. Do we have? Oh, yes, we do. So Piero has put a comment about the graffiti, because yes, that's also quite a problem, isn't it? I don't know if that's something that you also cover, is it, Wendy?
Yeah, so we have a graffiti team within Streets and Open Spaces. Their primary task is to respond to all the reports received regarding the tiniest sort of scribble through to the large graffiti that might be sort of reported through to us. And they will respond to everything. We also train volunteers as well. We have about half a dozen volunteers that remove low-level graffiti as well throughout the city. So if it's reported to us, we can respond to it. But sometimes there's graffiti in areas we might not actually be aware of. So it's very much about asking members of the public and members to report it through to us on our web form, so our teams can respond promptly and get the graffiti removed.
Oh, thank you. That's really useful. Yeah, something that we can pass on to residents. Councillor Moore, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. Just to thank Wendy and the team for all that they do, because they do keep the city very clean for all of us to enjoy. And obviously it is a bit disheartening when there is issues like littering and fly tipping over and over again, but we appreciate your work. And just to say that fly tipping has gone up nationally over the past couple of years. It isn't just an issue in Cambridge. And where possible, the team, as is shown in the report, the team do send letters or even prosecute where there's evidence. But obviously, if it's just a mattress or a microwave, then you can't tell who dumped it, and it's very hard to follow up. But as you said, education is vital, putting signs up, and we are, for the past few years, been part of a scheme we're putting more posters up, and also working better to collect evidence where possible, so that if it is possible to prosecute people or to give them a fixed penalty notice, then we can do. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Councillor Moore. Do we have anybody else who wanted to speak on or ask Wendy any questions or comments? No, I think thank you very much for your report, Wendy. It was really helpful, and thank you, yes, again, for all the great work you and your teams do.
Thank you.
There's one point that Councillor Thornborough would like to come back with some answers on the question on the earlier discussion on Cycle Point. So, Councillor, would you like to?
Yes. I emailed the questions to the officers thinking they'd pick it up tomorrow and they'd come back. So I've been and Greater Anglia have. Yes, part of the works is going to be a structural survey of the Cycle Point. So they're going to, and that will help deal with the current problem of the Sheffield stands being levered up, because they'll be able to fix them down, and they know that's a weak point. the outside the shop, it's definitely Brookgate's responsibility, and Brookgate have started everyday regular patrols, and they will label bikes left for long periods and then take them away and store them. But what they don't do is differentiate between people leaving their bikes there to go shopping or go and do something else. But there is they are being picked up. If you have any idea about how to that you want me to pass on, I will. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Councillor Beckett would like to speak.
Thank you very much, Councillor Thornberry. That's really good to hear. The only thing I just wanted to point out quickly, it's not just the Sheffield stands that can be unbolted. It's actually the racks as well, the bits where you attach in, they can also be undone as well. So just to be aware there. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that. Yeah. Do we have any other questions, comments on? No, then thank you very much for your contribution. I think we're finished, unless I've missed anything. Everything that's came in by email, Chris, has that all been covered?
Yes, Chair.
Great, thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for coming this evening and for participating. And I wish you all a very good evening.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Donna.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take
Bye.
care.